Hey everybody, it's the Daycare Podcast. We're back at it again. It is your boy, Mr. Nipples, and our host, Nick. And
Hey,
today we have a guest, Mr. Mike. Mike, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
yeah, my name's Mike Ranowski. I'm I'm an author. I never thought I'd write a book, but I never expected to ride a Harley Davidson 41,000 miles around Vietnam for our fallen veterans either. So, what more would you like to know?
Oh, wow. What got you? What got you to do it in the first place?
uh, I I didn't go to Vietnam with an intention to do it. But I was a golf course superintendent 15 years, and and I had plans to go diving on some islands east of Bali for a while and chill out. But I got a job in Hanoi and kind of interrupted those plans. And then I met a guy who could import a Harley Davidson with no tax. This was in 2008. Should work, and this guy knew who to pay off. I had a 3-year contract, so I just wanted to ride on my day off. And about 8 months after the bike got there, my contract crashed, and I thought, well, when I looked for jobs, well, I could go, any country. And anyway, I found another job in South of Vietnam. Yeah. Anyway, that one would crash. Between jobs, my joyrides turned into a cool, Millions of people ride for our veterans across America, but I
Oh,
got
yeah.
the opportunity to ride for them across the land they saw last on a Harley Davidson. How cool was that? I thought. So anyway, just as I'm planning to do this, I get a call about a job out of the country. And as the story goes on and the adventures go on, I end up back in Vietnam, and I make that ride across Vietnam in memory of the veterans. But when I get back, I was unfulfilled. There was something more out there. I didn't know what it was. I'm not a combat veteran, but I had to find out. So I just stopped working and rode in faith in the spirit of freedom and found more than I could have imagined. And it went on and on. It was like the never-ending story. Uh, and that I ended up coming back to America and rode across America with a veteran I met in Vietnam, and my journey went full circle with him. Had I not met him, my quest would have been incomplete, and I wouldn't have known it. But with him, it went full circle with the ride to the Vietnam Memorial in D.C.
Yeah,
And after 4.5 years, my journey ended with a joyride through Canada.
Oh, wow.
How about that for an unexpected road trip?
That's wow. That's yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Uh,
Wow.
I felt at this one, I guess, turning point that I felt the adventure had chosen me, and it wasn't over. And that was really weird because I was having this fun on this incredible ride and looking forward to a phone call about that job out of the country again. But and there was so much serendipity through it that just kept leading me back to it. I'm trying to keep going on my career here. I wasn't wealthy and I wasn't ready to retire, but this obligation just consumed my work and then my life. So I wrote a book about it.
And the name of that is From Vietnam to the Wall, correct?
Harley tracks across Vietnam to the wall.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the first half there. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's been a crazy week on this end.
There was so much to this story. It like I said, there was an evolution to it. I was just there working, just trying to make a living and have fun, meeting other people, other riders, and didn't expect anything like this. And then I felt an obligation that millions of people would have felt the same. But I was, I guess, because I was single and had no other commitments, I just was free to take this opportunity. We all have a lot of opportunities. Every day there's opportunities that come up, but your responsibilities or commitments might lead you or prevent you or whatever. But I didn't. My only responsibility was to myself and an employer. Once I got rid of the employer, it was easy to follow this obligation.
That must be nice.
Well, again, I'm not wealthy. I just, my free spirit kind of runs wild. It always has. But it was such a unique opportunity and such a beautiful place and friendly, welcoming. And I was absorbed by this quest. I've made a lot of rides for our fallen veterans, but nothing was close to riding across Vietnam, the land they saw last.
Yeah, it's
thinking about it. I don't know combat. I don't, but riding in the solitude of jungle on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, considering the task and turmoil of a combat veteran with more thought than I ever had, it humbled me. It overwhelmed me many times. Many times it was overwhelming, but I didn't want my ride for them to be a hateful or somber affair. I mean, this was a time and a place that I'm sure they would have appreciated under my circumstances.
From the Vietnam vets I've talked to, there was not a whole lot of somber times over there.
No. Like I said, I was there. I was at a different time, and I wanted to celebrate freedom.
Yep.
With them, so I started living vicariously for them, and I rode with a playful vengeance, tearing up the trails with a Harley Davidson, riding around, grinding my footboards hard into the concrete and asphalt, riding through blistering hot sunshine, raging monsoons, shaking my fists, yelling for more, willing the wild sensations to the fallen.
Oh, that's life.
I went 7 times up and down that country. I was known and welcome from one end to the other.
That's outstanding.
And when I first got there, I met some other bikers. Surprisingly, there was, in 2008 when I got there was about 50 Harleys in Hanoi, and then some other big bikes. And I found out later there were equal number in Saigon. But when I met my first biker friends, they told me nobody rides alone around Vietnam, and they warned me. And then one of them told me about a new highway that nobody used.
Oh.
I thought that was kind of strange. A new highway and nobody uses it? Well, he talked about robberies and scams to fix flat tires and too few gas stations.
Ah.
Well, I can fix my own tires. So the next Monday I rode out alone and found that highway. A fantastic stretch of trail known as the Ho Chi Minh Road. From Hanoi, about 600 miles, run south across the delta into the mountains, twisted through jungle before it reached the highlands in the south. It was the best trail I've ever rode in my life. Few towns and hamlets on it, little to no traffic, and all the robberies and scams were old stories. I laid tracks on every kilometer, the Ho Chi Minh Road as it's designated today, and overlapped many of them, and each ride was powerful, man. It follows the old the Ho Chi Minh Trail that was known during the war was actually a network over 12,000 miles long that went from out of and Laos and Cambodia, and would branch off and peel into Vietnam, and where our forces would find it and bomb it, and they'd twist off around another mountain through these triple canopy jungles, and they were very difficult to find. It was the United States Civil Service Agency or something considers it one of the most marvelous engineering projects of the 21st century. But anyway, its history goes back to the early, oh, in the second
Oh, wow.
century, when after they kicked the Chinese out in the first 1,000 years, then they had about 800 years of feudal wars, and that's when the trail actually was started, with all these tribes feuding throughout the country. They cut through the jungle, and they go with their horse and buggies and trailers and whatnot. But then when the French, the Vietnam, took on the French, they found some of these old trails and used them and beat them down and made them worthy. And then when they got to their American War, as they called it, well, the VC and the NVA started using it, and well, the rest is history. Yeah. and today they follow there's only two main roads that run of any length north to south, and that's the National Highway number 1, which runs along the coast, and the Ho Chi Minh Road on the inland. And it follows the old trail that goes through there, and along it is remnants of trail and some bridges that still have decks on them in little places that were used during the war. But in a lot of places, it's the only place I saw any remnants of the war. You don't see tanks and trucks and stuff laying in fields and stuff like you might see in movies. The only remnants that I saw were like bridge pillars standing up in creek or riverbeds with the decks blown off. But it is a fantastic trail, and there's, like I say, I'd take my time riding. There are times I could go for hours and not see anybody.
That's the best part of life.
It was a powerful journey. It was more than I expected when I started out, and it has been more than I could have ever dreamed of, from what I've recognized of it and what I've gotten of it personally, and what readers have connected to it and how they have recognized it and related to it. It was a ride of a lifetime for those guys who never got to make one.
Yeah. That's hopefully someday somebody can do that in the Middle East. I can only hope.
I would think about that while I was riding around. That during World War I, World War II, well, of course our battlegrounds were across Europe, Africa, South Pacific, and so on. But those places are much more have become much more developed and were a different situation than Vietnam. And then thinking about the Middle East, maybe one day somebody's going to have the opportunity to ride across the Middle East on a Harley Davidson, known as America's Freedom Machine. No offense to any other bikes, but an American could ride across there in a spirit of freedom for our fallen veterans. And it just gave me a whole a greater awareness and recognition to combat veterans and the families of the fallen.
We can hope someday it'll happen, but things will have to.
Yeah. Who knows? They've been battling over there for over 2,000 years.
Yep. When the Romans call you the land of sin, something's going on.
Pardon me?
The Romans called them the land of sin, and that says something.
Yeah, it is, and but I'm afraid that battle over there is going to continue on. America's grandchildren are going to be battling that.
Well, there's guys that were in kindergarten or younger when we entered. In fact, there's kids that were born while their dads were over there that are now enlisting.
That's me. I'm those people.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was what before 1990 when they had uh, Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Was that in 1990 or
Yeah.
1991?
91. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like 5 years before I was
Yeah.
even born.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but things were hot before that.
Yep.
You know, that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
Well,
But anyway, I've uh, made this incredible ride that I thought, man, somebody's got to do this, and it just kept going on. And I thought it was over a few times. And in 2012, when I just gave up work and I just got to follow this, and I thought I got to write about this. I mean, I thought this my swan song ride, and I don't know how this story is going to end, but I got to write about it. And to do that, I need to leave my work, my career, and come back to America before I started forgetting, because I was 59 years old at the time.
yeah.
And so I hadn't been keeping a journal because I didn't plan it. I was just,
Yeah.
having fun, riding in the spirit of freedom, living vicariously for them, talking to the spirits, talking to the mountains. And so I'm going to leave my career and write about this. And 3 months before I left Vietnam, I met this veteran at a Texas barbecue in Chang. And he's a biker from Arizona. I live in Minnesota. And he tells me he's got some people that I should meet. And they ride across America every year, and to go to D.C. for the Rolling Thunder weekend. And he says you should meet up with them in Des Moines, Iowa. And then like in the next sentence he says, "Well, I'll meet you there." And I'm thinking, well, we're sitting here talking about something 6 months from now, 10,000 miles away, and we're both drunk. And I give him my card, and we part ways. And the next day, I kind of thinking about this. Wow, what could this mean? And I had no way to get hold of him. I didn't even know if he was still in the country. So the next night, I went back down there to that same restaurant, sat down, and had a drink. And sure enough, he come walking in. And I said, "Sit down." His name was Mike too. I said, "Sit down, Mike. Let's make a plan." And we did. In May of 2013, we met up in Des Moines, Iowa, and rode with this National Veterans Awareness Group to D.C., which brought my journey full circle. I didn't plan to do that. Had I not met you, there was just so much that happened on that ride. And since then, the next year, in 2014, we went out and met this group in California. And they ride across America, visiting veterans in homes and hospitals every day. And we visit schools and memorials and cemeteries for memorials. And I've been doing that since I got back with the same bike I rode around Vietnam on.
Wow.
And I'll continue to do that. I ride with them every year. And when I'm done with the bike, it'll be donated to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
Wow.
Yeah. But I hope to have a lot more miles on it before then.
Well, sounds like you're on track to get a lot more in.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I'd like to sell a lot more books. I'm donate 50% of the profit of every book goes to veterans causes or the families. It's a good story. I've got a lot. Have you visited my website, www.harleytracks.com? And you've seen what the readers have had to say about it.
Yeah, it is.
It's humbling.
I got to ask, how did you
It is.
meet Patrick?
Trick.
Yep.
I met Trick on Patrick on that
Okay.
ride, the National Veterans Awareness Ride. Yeah, met him. Gosh, I don't know, 5 years ago.
We actually had him on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah. I've talked with him. Well, we texted since then. I've been trying to call him, but calling he's usually tired.
Well, the fight he's fighting is.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was terminal when I met him 5 years ago. And since then, he's been on the ride about 3 or 4 times, and he's been down to party in Texas, and he's been partying here and there, and well, he's not doing so well now, but I keep telling him, Patrick, one of these days this is going to come to an end.
He knows.
And you're going to have to find a goddamn job.
Yeah, he's
I'm praying for a miracle. Praying for a miracle. They've happened. And another friend of mine that I write about in the book was the same situation. Man, he was laying on a bed, made his peace, and was ready to go. And today he's a very, very successful businessman, and Australian guy, very successful businessman in China, or not China, Hanoi, Vietnam. Mixing it. I've lived in 7 countries.
He's got me beat by 1. So.
Well, that's counting America. So.
Real quick, I know this is a little offbeat, but huge word came out yesterday. The Bozeman Award. I guess it has something to do with the Navy. Yeah.
The Bozeman
Mr.
Award?
Nichols?
Yeah.
They're renaming it for Patrick.
Oh, really?
Yes, I saw that.
Yep.
Oh, that's really cool.
That man.
Oh, he's an inspiration.
Yeah, that man is. Well, as you know, you talked to him. He's a warrior through and through. The fight he's fought is just.
Yeah, he's an inspiration to so many. I'm proud to call him my brother.
Yeah.
Been honored to ride with him, and they just not this year, but the year before. Yeah, not this past year. He didn't ride, but the year before he was riding as a road guard.
Wow.
And that's a demanding job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a great wife, Angie, strong woman.
I should put up with him
and
going.
They're so much fun.
He's he's an inspiration. We tried to have him on the show 6 months prior, and he ended up in hospice again, and we didn't think he was going to make it, but there he is, checking out again.
Yeah. He sent me a text. I'm on my way to hospice, and I don't think I'm going to make it out. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, start looking in the want ads for a job. Yeah, he's great. Well, he's a great bunch of people down there in Michigan City.
Yeah.
That, he got close with them there. And the whole National Veterans Awareness Organization, very, very tight-knit group, very dedicated to honoring the veterans.
If you can text me on Facebook, send me a link to that. Just like the website, we'll get it up on the page.
What's that?
Is it just National Veterans Awareness Program like .org or .com or?
NVAO.us.
All right, we'll get that up for you so that way people can.
Yeah, I've got a link to it on my website. But it is great. It's an emotional roller coaster, that ride. I've been on enough rides, local rides for raising money for this veterans organization or that veterans group or this cause or that cause, but they get lost in, and it's not a disrespectful thing. I don't mean to in intention in that, but it's just the nature of it. It's a social affair.
Yeah.
Okay, the money's going to this, but too often there's throughout the day at the rides, it's just stop, you're drinking a beer here and a beer there, but there's nothing brought up, no speaker about talking about what this ride is about. Where's this going to? What's it mean? Rather than just giving the money and then riding and drinking and partying and having fun. Well, that's fun, but we've got a cause here. And on the National Veterans Awareness Ride, every day it's from sun up to sundown. It's for the veterans. Of course, this is a very formal organization. And on my ride, like I said, it absorbed me. It was just every day about the veterans and, celebrating freedom that they didn't get, that I get to have.
Yeah.
And, coming back to America and, I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but when I come back to America, I've been gone for 15 years. And, I guess out of touch. I'd come back for a couple weeks vacation here and there and ride my other bike. But when I was home, I kind of became overwhelmed with all of the news, issues in the news about people demanding their rights, their entitlements, and this and that, and complaining about this. And I'd look at a lot of issues, and I'd think, you just want your rights to blanket your lack of responsibility.
Yes.
Men and women died for those rights. Since the Revolutionary War, men and women have been dying, not just for our freedom, but for our very nature.
Yep.
And that nature, it's a free-spirited nature that has evolved in American character. It's inherent in American character. People around the world. You've lived in other countries?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You've seen what I've seen is the envy people have for our character, for our free-spirited nature.
That or they hate the freedoms we have.
I've seen it, and I have felt that envy. And I've celebrated in the evolution of people's nature. The Vietnamese, for example, they're far more evolved in a free-spirited nature than China or Laos. 3 communist countries. Vietnam is way ahead of them in societal development. And people here are just taking advantage of their rights, and we should take advantage of our freedoms, but let's not take advantage of our rights. Let's be responsible with them.
I agree.
Let's we have be responsible and live with the morals, the principles, the integrity, and the excitement that those who sacrificed cherished. And that just seems to be fading away.
It's they've stopped teaching so many integral parts of our history in schools that people are losing who we are.
Yeah.
They're no longer teaching the truth about the Civil War. They're no longer teaching the truth about the Revolutionary War. They're no longer teaching about Vietnam or World War II because kids might get upset and they might get their feelings hurt.
Oh gosh.
But if you don't teach these things, they're gonna happen again.
Exactly. Learn from history, or history repeats itself.
Yeah, and it's
well. Talking about a friend of mine with this when I got back, and was all this frustration I was having about what I was seeing in the news and these people wanting this and that, and just not being responsible. I'm thinking, anyway, this friend of mine told me to look up to Google up the cycles of democracy, and I did, and I found out this explains why a democracy has never lasted more than 200 years, and there's a number of very short sites with very concise information that explain, and one of them will show what's been going on in America through this cycle, and we're on a downhill side of it now. We've gone from complacency to apathy.
For democracy to last, it must be refreshed with the blood of patriots. It's the unfortunate truth of it, but
it must.
The full saying to that is the tree of liberty must be watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots.
Yep. I was paraphrasing, but yeah.
Mm. There have been over 1.3 million men and women, patriots, have died for our
We're
country,
aware.
and for other countries also.
We have a project over on our Facebook page, and it is a daunting task where we are not just putting in those that have died in combat, we are putting in those veterans that have died otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we've got, I think we're just over 3,000 names right now, and we are currently, before Memorial Day comes up, we want to get in Pearl Harbor and Midway. Oh, those men and women that died, and then we're going to expand from there. But as you know, that alone is hundreds upon hundreds of names.
And are you counting all the guys and families affected by Agent Orange?
They will eventually. The vets that are affected by Agent Orange will eventually end up on there. We every time we come up with a name or anybody finds a name, they can add it to the wall themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have a special, before Memorial Day every year. We read those names on the air, and it is eventually we're going to have to be doing bits throughout the year just to get the names read, or taking previous year and adding to it because
yeah. Well, as long as their names are spoken, they are not forgotten.
That is actually an old Norse proverb: is a man is never truly dead so long as his name is spoken.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and the war still rages in Vietnam with the Agent Orange and the unexploded ordnance.
Yep,
it's terrible. And that continues on over here, and it's going to continue for some generations. They don't know.
Yeah, just like Iraq is officially over, but how many? We're still losing 22 Iraqi veterans a day. It's
yeah. And these guys going out on, I mean, to say multiple deployments is not enough. I mean, 20 deployments?
Yep.
My gosh.
We just lost a Special Forces, a Green Beret guy who had 24, 25 under his belt before he died downrange.
Uh-huh.
That is insane. That is...
Yeah. Yeah, and, credit Trump, he, passed clemency on these three recent guys that, hey, I don't know combat, but I thought long and hard about it, and I wept over it. And I just, it's unimaginable the decisions somebody has to make in a split second, and you either die with that decision or you live with it the rest of your life.
Yeah, I've had a few of my brothers.
And then you get put back in that same position again and again and again.
Yep.
What did they, these people who sit back here in America all comfortable and in their air-conditioned offices and plush homes and stuff, thinking that, they just, they don't see reality. And again, I don't know that the reality of combat, but hey, it deserves a lot more. Those in it deserve a lot more leeway and credit and gratitude.
I've had a few of my combat brothers on the show with us here, and it's been a. I tell you, we talk every day. I talk with these guys every day, and it's yeah, those shows are different. You can feel the energy. It's different on those shows. It's
Well, yeah. I can only, I guess, imagine the depth of your conversations among each other.
Well, we don't touch on those subjects because none of us want to. But yeah.
You were in Iraq?
Yep. 01,
Well,
OAF1, OAF2.
thank you,
I'm not the one to thank.
and
My brothers that
and
the guys
and
that
welcome home.
the guys that didn't come home are the ones to thank.
Yeah,
I'm not the ones to
yeah.
thank. It's
Well, I hope someday there will be peace there, and somebody can ride across the Middle East and tear it up in the spirit of freedom.
yeah.
And but that's going to be a ways off, I'm afraid.
Have you ever ridden with the honor guard over there in Minnesota?
No.
Have you ever heard of the honor guard?
Not the honor guard, the Patriot Guard.
Patriot Guard. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do the honor ride with the Patriot Guard. I apologize. It's
Yeah, they have a big ride each spring, I guess, in June. Yeah, I've been to it, and I have been on that ride, and then I've been there as doing book signings.
well, they like here when a couple of the guys just came home from Korea, and they get guys together to escort them from the airport to the mortuary, and yeah, it's a heck of a thing.
It is. It is after so many years. Finally, that family has some closure.
So if anybody's ever listening and you got a motorcycle, sign up. It's a detail that they don't have enough guys for, and these families it keeps and they do more than that. They kids of the fall, children of the fallen, they'll give them a ride to school on the first day of school if they can.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a thing, the things that they do.
Yeah. And if anybody's got the time, go down to the VA hospital, ask around, find out who's in the hospital that doesn't have many visitors or no visitors. 'Cause we visit hospitals across America on Interstate 80 most of the way, but there's a lot of veterans in these VA homes and hospitals. They've outlived their families, or the families don't go visit them anymore. These guys are so thrilled to have a visitor, even just a few minutes to come in and say hello, that they're not forgotten. We bring them cards from school children, and they get the biggest emotional thrills out of these cards from children.
That's
Yes, we owe the veterans.
When I was in Fort Sam, we got a few of those, and it made our day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hate to ask, but since you got a network of guys that that are involved at the VA, if you hear of any guys that are pass away, any veterans, I don't care if it's combat related or age or Agent Orange or cancer, or even if they're murdered, we've got a donation on the wall for that. Even just have them send the Daycare Podcast on Facebook. Just send us a message with the name and we'll get it up there.
Okay.
None of these guys need to be forgotten, and this is just the little thing that we can do for them.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I'll have to get your contact information.
either you can send it, to my, because you and I, we talk on Facebook, or you can send it. They can send it to the page. It's just Daycare Podcast.
Daycare Podcast?
Yep, that's the Facebook page.
Okay.
So.
All right. I'll let you know.
They can post it up there themselves, or they can shoot us the name, and we can post it. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Yeah. I just did a let's see, on Veterans Day, I had a presentation at a school.
Oh, wow.
School. Well, actually, it was kindergarten through 12. Yeah,
wow.
600 students, and they did teach about the Vietnam War. It wasn't very extensive, but I was no, I'm not surprised, but they were oh gosh, I'll bet you 25, 30% or better who had parents that were either serving in the military or and grandparents who were in the military, which would have been Vietnam era. But over 30% of them had some connection to their knowledge of the military. And then I had afterwards I got a big pamphlet of thank you cards drawn up by the kids. And that was great. That was great. There needs to be more of that into the educational system.
I agree.
Letting these children know about the sacrifices, that are made for them.
I agree. It's definitely lacking.
And I think, again, I'd mentioned, it's all this talk about, the sacrifices made for freedom, and that's true. But as I'd mentioned, what a big thing for me was recognizing that not just freedom, but our very free-spirited nature that is instilled in our soul. It's an essence. It's an essence of American character, and that's what when I was in far north in Vietnam at this place, and I was talking with these tourists that were traveling. They were from Europe someplace, and this guy asked me, he says, "Well, where does the essence of your story come from?" And I was just kind of startled, and like, gosh, it should be obvious. It comes from my free-spirited nature.
Well,
and that's what it is.
If you truly embrace the freedoms that were given to us by our forefathers, by those that came before us, the free-spirited nature comes with it.
It's allowed to evolve, and I'm afraid we're losing some of that now.
Oh, we are.
Because when I grew up, I mean, I'm 66 now. When I grew up, I was allowed. I mean, in small rural towns in Minnesota, North Dakota, free to go across town, go out in the country, go, walk any place, and grab a gun and go out and shoot something.
Yep.
But and free to, and then eventually go from town to town, state to state, travel across the country. We didn't have to worry about anything, Or my free spirit evolved, as did everybody's. We were the boom generation right after World War II. We were peaking, man. We were rocking. But now, with the way the world is turning, people got to be careful about letting their kids go out.
Yeah, the last 15 years, North Dakota's even changed a lot.
And it's terrible to see that loss. And well, gosh, that could go into a whole nother tangent here in this podcast with talking about where society's going and all that. But
we actually got into it with the guests that we had on last week. He was, he was a California native, and he left because it gotten so bad. And then Mr. Nipples lives out there in Virginia, but we now, lovingly call it East California because.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
East California.
I was actually reading right now, 11 hours ago, they put up the bill again, and it's pretty wild. I'd pretty much be a felon 3 times over if they pass this.
I'm so scared.
It'd be yeah. My fiance's really scared as well, but
it might be time to head to warmer.
Faith in our system, and if the system doesn't work, then we'll just have to, fix it, just like the founding fathers did.
Well, if everybody with that they're going to make a felon with those laws leaves, they're not going to have a state to raise any money to.
Yeah, they're literally already planning to build another prison because they already know they're gonna fuck over so many people.
Well, that's what
Where,
everybody
in
needs.
Virginia? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm honestly, I won't even call it a prison. I'll just go ahead and call it a concentration camp for what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
They're just gonna try to eliminate people they don't like, basically.
But if everybody leaves,
Actual
they won't have
Nazis
any tax
took
money.
control.
Yeah,
Of
they won't have any
our
money.
state. It's great. Oh no, they're gonna farm us for slave labor. That's the idea. That's what prisons do. They put you in there, they make you slaves essentially.
No, but that's just it. See, they can't. When the law passes, they have to give a period of time before it can enact.
Yeah.
And if everybody that it's going to affect leaves, that's everybody that's gainfully employed. That's everybody with money. That's everybody that is, an active part of society.
Yeah.
When they leave, what is the state going to do?
Hopefully collapse.
That's what will happen.
That'd be pretty
And
great.
it'll prove that it doesn't work. Well, no, we thought, when California collapsed, it proved that it doesn't work, but people haven't learned the lesson there either yet. Oh, wait, New York is collapsing, and they haven't learned the lesson there yet. And these bleeding hearts.
Wow, this could really get deep here.
Well, we get into all sorts of topics, and we don't pigeonhole anything. We just let it go where it goes. And
Yeah. Well, California, it's going one way or the. I mean, it's going down. It doesn't look good.
New York's not too far behind.
No, and
And I hate to say it, Minnesota's in trouble.
Well,
I'm right next door.
Oh, hey, I live here. Yeah, we got so many people coming in here, and we got the largest population of Somalis.
Well, we got the second
outside
largest
Somalia.
population, and our governor just said we're taking more.
And we got a lot of Chicagoans living in Duluth now. We got the I guess the benefits here.
Yep.
The welfare benefits. No, we're treating too many symptoms. The government is treating too many symptoms and not problems.
Well, I don't want to travel the far road.
We're a compassionate people. We always have been, and we will continue to be compassionate. But I think, again, we need to be responsible, and we need to hold other people responsible.
Yeah.
And the United Nations needs to step in and play a big role in being the big brother instead of America.
Well, do you know what the truth is? If we stop giving, and once again, this is another can of worms open, if we cut off all the foreign aid that we're giving out, we could fix our nation. Mm-hmm. We could end homelessness. We could end hungry children. We could make school lunches free. We could fix our infrastructure. We could. God.
But within that, we are tied in. We become international. Our economy, we've spread out, and we've got our fingers in so many other places, and other people are tied in with that. But we need to rethink that and get on the train that you're talking about taking care of Americans first before we spend trillions of dollars over here and over there.
Well, the question is, why are we sending foreign aid to Russia?
Good question.
Why are we sending foreign aid to China or Germany or France?
I was baffled here recently reading that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they're sending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to other countries, to Russia, for example, to start a Democratic Party in Russia, or a Republican Party in Russia, or China, or Algeria, or wherever. But anyway, there's sending hundreds of millions of dollars out there for that, plus the billions of dollars that are going to every place south of the U.S. border.
Yeah, last year we sent $800 million in foreign aid to Germany. For what?
Yeah, I don't know.
What do we need to send $1 billion in foreign aid to Russia for?
Good question.
We sent $6 billion in foreign aid to China. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's money that could fix our infrastructure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and take care of our people.
Just like, and I know this is a conversation that a lot of people don't want to get into, but if we stopped throwing people in prison for cannabis, which is just a medication in all honesty, As long as you're not driving when you're using it, or using it under certain conditions that you can't use alcohol, we'd have a lot less people in prison, and we could tax
Mhm.
it, which once again goes into fixing our infrastructure and feeding kids in school.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. The other day, Joe Biden was saying, "Well, the jury's still out on marijuana." Well, come on, hey, we've been smoking pot for 60 years in America.
we
The jury's
actually
still out.
we
Yeah, they're
actually
out
have
there smoking a joint.
we've had a guest on twice that is currently in the process of suing the Attorney General of the United States, and for medical cannabis.
Hmm.
And the previous Attorney General of the United States, his own journals and stuff that he wrote while he was in office, is obviously admissible into court during this process because he was the Attorney General at the time. And what he wrote is so damning that it's going to hurt the Attorney General's case on this so much. It's ridiculous. He actually said that he finds nothing wrong with it. He wrote that he sees nothing wrong with it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How are you going to stand as the Attorney General and hold a case when the previous Attorney General said it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, God, when I was younger, man, I used to smoke all the time. But now I don't anymore. I mean, I just don't.
well, I would, for medical reasons, but it's so hard to
Well,
get
but
my card
yeah.
here in North Dakota. It's
Uh-huh.
And then the cost of the medical here in North Dakota is outrageous.
Uh-huh.
Um, One of my best NCOs I've ever had, Gunny Grantham. He's been on the show twice. He actually ended up in the service because he was stoned.
Yeah. Thought he was walking into the pizza store and it was a recruiter.
He got in a car accident because he was stoned, and he had to pay off the damage on his car. And he was like, "Well, you know what? I'm just going to join for 4 years to pay off the damage." And 23 years later, he
Oh.
retired as an E8.
Oh. Well, he did us proud.
Yes, yes, that man is he's amazing.
Yeah, well, it's funny where life takes us.
Yeah,
There's, like I said earlier, opportunities come up, every day. Every day we've got opportunities coming in, but we're uh, occupied with responsibilities and commitments, and sometimes an opportunity sparks an interest a little stronger, and you go for it.
yeah. We've had some of the most interesting guests, people I never would have talked to with having this show.
Yeah,
You,
yeah, I'm sure.
Patrick, Ms. Nevada, um, Jose Belen, suing the Attorney General of the United States.
Oh,
We've had a couple of authors, people I never would have talked to. The guy that writes what are those two comics, Mr. Nipples? G.I. Lowe and Private Murphy?
Yep.
Yeah. We had
okay.
both those guys on. I don't know if you've ever read their comics, but they're amazing. It's yeah, the opportunities in life, as you said, are just
Yeah, and when you get out, well, and when you travel, you meet other people, and I've always been inspired by adventure ever since I was a little kid growing up in Minnesota and North Dakota, hearing about other parts of the world. It just was fantasizing, romanticizing, and
yep.
someday I'd like to go.
I was that kid.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've moved over 50 times across 7 countries.
I spent my summers up in Pembina, North Dakota. That tells you something, huh?
Pembina?
Yep.
Whoa. You, you can see Canada from there.
Yes, you can.
Or you can see Canada from Fargo almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
No, I've had a lot of good adventures, met a lot of wonderful people around the world, and and every place I've been, the common people are all pretty much the same, on the same plane. They just want to be left alone, want to have a good life, and want to have a better life for their children, make a little money, and enjoy themselves, the common
Yeah,
people. And they recognize it's the governments that screw things up.
for the most part. I mean, there's stupid people that do it too, but yeah.
Yeah. But are you aware of what's going on in Hong Kong right
Yes, and that
now?
is outstanding. I am so
Oh
proud of
yeah,
them.
I've been
Yeah,
following that pretty closely.
I lived in Hong Kong on and off for a few years, and lived around
Dude,
Hong Kong on and off for a few years. I know Hong Kong fairly. I used to not like going to Hong Kong, and then when I moved to Macau, I liked going to Hong Kong.
well, the new tactic to keep the national police out is pretty outstanding. They're gluing bricks to the street.
Oh, it's amazing what they're coming up with to battle the police, and it just but China. I spent 8 years in China, and China will get its way. I mean, I'm very happy that Xi Jinping has not sent in the PLA to have another Tiananmen Square scene.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're afraid that major nations are going to step in if they start.
Oh yeah, 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 and Hong Kong is such a commercial hub. Uh, I I think it may destroy it for a long time to come, and then of course you got Taiwan watching it closely to see how they would fare under Chinese rule. Not very well, but
Well,
anyway, they're the protesters in Hong Kong. They're flying the American flag and
yes,
wanting what we have. And then, are you aware of what's going on in Kashmir, India?
not so much in Kashmir, no.
No, no. Most people don't even know where Kashmir is. Do you know where Kashmir is? I'll
Let's
put you
see
on the
here.
spot. Okay, don't feel bad. A lot of people don't. Kashmir
No.
is just it's this little it's a state of India up in the far northwest corner of India between India, Pakistan, and China,
Okay.
and they have fought wars over that. Pakistan and India have fought two two wars over that little uh, state, and China has encroached in and claims part of it. And I lived there for a while. In 2001, I actually evacuated out of there after 9/11. But it's a beautiful place, one of the most beautiful places in the world I've ever seen. The Vale of Kashmir. Oh man, it's just a splendor. I mean, there's no oil there. It's just natural beauty. Uh, and a lot of apples. They got $1 billion apple industry and saffron. But it's India is Hindi and Kashmir is Muslim dominated. And when the British gave India back to the Indians, well, Kashmir, the Maharaja of Kashmir, had special rule there that the British allowed him during their reign. Anyway, when they gave India back to the Indians, the Maharaja uh, they didn't allow British to own land there, so they would build these houseboats on Dal Lake in Srinagar.
Ah,
And but anyway, the Indians want it, and they've claimed part of it, and the Pakistanis have part of it, and they couldn't own land. Indians couldn't own land there, but now recently they started. I mean, gosh, I can't remember, it's been about 3 months now. I'm on Facebook with a lot of friends there, but I've not been in touch with them because they've cut off Facebook and telephone service
oh
into
wow.
Kashmir. It's terrible what's going on. When I lived there, there were so many times, well, not so many, there were a few times people would plead with me, please tell America to come in here and help us. Uh, but what could I do?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's like too many places in the world. The corruption and militancy. It's we've got it very good here in America, and I just don't want to see us screw it up.
Next time you're in Fargo, give me a holler. I'll come to Fargo, and I hate Fargo now, but I'll meet you in Fargo, and we'll have a cup of coffee, and I'll tell you a few stories about time in Iraq.
Where do you live, or where do you live now?
Uh, for the purpose of the show, I'll say Minot area, but that's not actually where
Okay.
I live. I just say that for the
Okay.
show.
Okay. Well, I'm be going up there next week actually.
All right, I will. We'll meet up at.
I'll
Where
contact
Denny's?
you.
Yeah, that Denny's on 45th is. They can make some decent coffee.
Hmm.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
But we're right about an hour now, so we'll start our wrap up here. And
Okay.
anything you want to, just a simple message that you want to put out, safety briefing, or
Well, I'd just like to have people check out my website and my story. There are no stories like it. Uh,
that's true.
it's a ride that there have been no rides like this one. I didn't plan on it. And again, 50% of the profit from every book will support veterans and their families
It's outstanding.
and give you a great story.
Since we got ride around on, let's remind everybody, bikes are on the road. Check. Just make sure you check, because there's far too many guys on bikes getting hit.
Oh yeah. Oh, and my book is available at my website, thews.harleytracks.com. I wrote a good story, but I really suck at marketing and selling.
Actually, I got somebody for you to hit up. His name is Derwin Lester. I will send you his information. Hook up with him. He is amazing with marketing. He runs Divided by Zero books, and this man is a genius with marketing.
Yeah,
So.
Okay. Well, I'd appreciate all the help I can get, and I appreciate the time to spend chatting with you on your podcast.
Likewise, I will send you Derwin's information. The man's an absolute genius. So, and he knows some guys he could probably get to read it for. You know what Audible is, right?
Yeah.
He has contact with guys that do Audible, read the books for Audible, so that could help you get sales there too. So.
Okay.
All right. For closing, as far as suicide goes, guys, Peter said it best. Live every day to honor the guys that have sacrificed so that we can have what we have.
Be an American worth fighting for.
Yep. And if you're feeling down, reach out.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy that's too proud to reach out, because I've been there and I've reached out. It's a hell of a thing.
There's somebody
you're never
alone.
Yeah, you're never alone. And if you don't want to reach out to me or Mr. Nipples or our page, there's Mission Zero Actual in Florida. We got your 6. Pete, he'll listen. I promise you, he ain't gonna be telling nobody. The guy's so stoned out of his mind on painkillers, he doesn't remember his name half the time. So, but reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
All right. With that, I want to thank you, Mike, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Nipples.
That's an amazing story.
Well, you should read about it. There's so much to it. There's quite an evolution to it, and again, it's something that millions of people would have wanted to do the same.
Yeah.
And I was just in a position that I could do it. Well, I did it. And now I'm having, in my retirement, I'm having to drive a school bus to help get by, but I'd do it again.
Well, I think on behalf of my brothers, I thank you. It means a lot.
It is my pleasure. And thank you.
With that, we're going to sign off. You all have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Okay. Thank you.
See you later. Everyone have a good one.
Later.
Bye.